In the distant future, humanity's survival depends on an ancient prophecy hidden within alien ruins. A lone warrior uncovers secrets that could ignite a galactic war or bring eternal peace. Brace yourself for an epic tale of courage, betrayal, and destiny in this hyperfantasy meets science fiction adventure. Subscribe now to embark on this journey with us. The year was 3172 AD, and Earth had long since shed its fragile cocoon of flesh and blood frailty. Humanity now walked among the stars as a species reborn, not through evolution, but through technology so advanced it blurred the line between man and machine. Cities floated in geosynchronous orbits, their crystalline spires reflecting sunlight like shards of shattered rainbows. Below them, the surface of Earth had become a vast parkland, preserved from centuries of industrial abuse. But even amidst such splendor, not all was well. The Unified Galactic Council, a coalition of human colonies spanning thousands of light-years, faced a crisis unlike any before. Reports from deep space outposts spoke of strange anomalies near the edge of known space. Ships vanished without trace, leaving behind only cryptic signals pulsing with an eerie rhythm. And then there were whispers of an ancient prophecy, buried in forgotten archives and whispered only in hushed tones during late-night gatherings. At the heart of this storm stood Commander Kale Voss, a decorated officer whose reputation preceded him like a shadow. Known for his unyielding determination and unparalleled tactical genius, Kale was no stranger to danger. Yet tonight, as he stood alone in his quarters aboard the flagship, Aurora's Hope Dash, staring at a holographic display flickering with fragmented data streams, he felt something gnawing at his resolve. It wasn't fear, it was doubt. For the first time in his life, Kale questioned whether he was truly prepared for what lay ahead. "Commander," came a voice over the comm system, jolting him back to reality. Lieutenant Mira Chen's calm tone cut through the static. "We've received another transmission from Outpost Delta 7. They're transmitting again." Kale sighed deeply, running a hand over his synthetic cheekbone implant. "Patch it through." The screen lit up with static before resolving into grainy footage. It showed a desolate landscape bathed in blood-red hues, stretching endlessly under twin suns. In the distance, towering monoliths loomed like silent sentinels, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns resembling nothing Kale had ever seen. At the center of the image stood a figure cloaked in tattered robes, their face obscured by shadows. Their voice echoed across the void, resonating with both authority and sorrow. "Seek the path of light," they intoned, their words distorted but unmistakably clear. "Find the keeper of secrets before the hourglass runs dry." Before anyone could respond, the feed cut out abruptly, plunging the room into silence once more. Kale stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. What did it mean? Who, or what, was the keeper of secrets? And why did these messages seem to grow increasingly urgent? As he mulled over the implications, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights pulsed erratically, casting flickering shadows on every surface. "What's happening?" Kale demanded, striding toward the bridge. Lieutenant Chun appeared on the main monitor, her expression grim. "We've detected multiple unidentified vessels approaching our position. They're moving faster than anything we've encountered." Kale clenched his fists. "Armament status?" "All systems nominal," she replied. "But sir, I recommend caution. These ships aren't responding to hails." "Understood." Kale took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever came next. Whatever happened here tonight would change everything, and perhaps determine the fate of humanity itself. The bridge buzzed with activity as officers scrambled to prepare for battle. Kale moved through the chaos with practiced precision, his mind racing through scenarios. The approaching vessels were unlike anything in the UGC database. No recognizable markings, no standard configuration. They seemed almost organic, their shapes shifting subtly as if adapting to some unseen purpose. "Sir," Lieutenant Chun interrupted, her voice tight with concern. "The lead vessel just initiated a transmission. Decoding it now." The screen flickered again, revealing a visage that made Kale's blood run cold. It was humanoid, yes, but its features were impossibly symmetrical, glowing faintly with bioluminescent patterns that shifted like living flames. Its eyes burned with an intensity that defied comprehension. Human vessel, the entity intoned, its voice resonating with both menace and curiosity. You have trespassed upon sacred ground. Surrender your knowledge or suffer the consequences. Kale's jaw tightened. Surrender? Who do you think you're speaking to? The creature tilted its head slightly, as though intrigued by the defiance in his tone. Your kind has long sought what does not belong to you. Now you will pay the price. Before Kale could respond, the connection severed abruptly. Alarms blared anew as the lead vessel unleashed a barrage of energy pulses toward the Aurora's Hope Dash. Shields flared under the assault, but Kale knew they wouldn't hold forever. He turned to Chen. Target their propulsion systems, he ordered. Let's make sure they can't escape. Aye, sir, she acknowledged, her fingers flying over her console. Firing countermeasures. Explosions erupted around the ship as defensive drones intercepted incoming projectiles. But the enemy vessels responded with surgical precision, targeting vital subsystems one by one. Kale gritted his teeth as the ship shuddered under repeated impacts. Damage report, he barked. Main engines offline, reported Ensign Rivas, monitoring the status boards. Life support compromised in sectors 3 through 7. Hull integrity at 60%. Kale swore under his breath. This was no ordinary skirmish. Whoever or whatever they were facing, they weren't amateurs. And if those cryptic transmissions were any indication, this confrontation might just be the tip of the iceberg. Suddenly, a new signal burst through the cacophony. This time it was clearer, less distorted. It carried a message written in symbols Kale had seen before, etched into the alien monoliths on the Outpost Delta 7 feed. It's the same pattern, Chen muttered, pointing at the screen. The sigils from the transmission. They're trying to communicate something. Kale leaned closer, studying the glyphs. There was something familiar about them, something primal yet sophisticated. Like they spoke directly to the core of existence itself. He motioned for Chun to isolate the frequency. Can we decode it? He asked. She nodded slowly. It'll take time, but I believe we can translate it. If we can understand what they're saying. Do it, Kale said firmly, and find out where they're coming from. I want to know everything about these creatures. As Chun worked furiously at her station, Kale paced the bridge, his thoughts churning. Whatever this was, it wasn't random. Those monoliths, the mysterious figures in the recordings, they all pointed to something bigger, something older. Something that could rewrite the very foundation of human understanding. But first, they needed to survive the night. Hours passed in a blur of tension and strategy. Lieutenant Chun finally managed to crack the alien language, revealing fragments of a message that sent shockwaves through the crew. The beings attacking them called themselves the Luminari, an ancient race whose origins stretched beyond recorded history. They claimed dominion over the galaxy, viewing humans as trespassers who had violated sacred sites and stolen forbidden knowledge. Kale listened intently as Chun relayed the decoded message, his expression unreadable. They accuse us of stealing something? He asked, his voice low and measured. They say we've disturbed a balance, Chen explained, scrolling through the translation matrix. The sigils on the monoliths, they're part of a larger network. A network designed to contain something. Something? Kale echoed, his brow furrowing. What exactly? That's the problem, Chen admitted. The message is fragmented. But based on what we've gathered, it seems we've inadvertently triggered a containment breach. A breach of what? Kale pressed, his patience wearing thin. We don't know, Chen admitted. But whatever it is, the Luminari are convinced it will unleash catastrophic consequences unless we return the artifact we took. Kale exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of his nose. An artifact? When did we take an artifact? Chun hesitated, glancing at her console. According to their records, there was an expedition 2 years ago to the Zeta Quadrant. One of the teams returned with samples from a site classified as restricted. That site matches the coordinates of the monoliths. Kale cursed under his breath. He remembered the incident now, the classified mission that had been scrubbed from public records. A team had disappeared while exploring ruins rumored to predate even the earliest human settlements. The few survivors had returned empty-handed, claiming they'd found nothing of value. Clearly, they'd been lying. So now what? Kale asked, turning back to Chun. We tell them we don't have this artifact? They won't believe us, Chun replied grimly. Not after what happened at Outpost Delta 7. Besides, the evidence suggests the artifact is still aboard the ship. Kale froze, his stomach sinking. What? How? Analysis shows traces of exotic energy signatures consistent with the monoliths, Chun continued. It's been shielded somehow, but it's definitely here. Kale cursed again, pacing the length of the bridge. This was bad, worse than bad. If the Luminari were willing to destroy the Aurora's hope, to retrieve the artifact, then they wouldn't hesitate to annihilate Earth itself to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. We need to buy time, Kale decided. Contact the Council. Tell them we're dealing with a hostile faction. Request immediate reinforcements. Chun nodded, already working on the request. Should I also inform Admiral Huxley? Kale paused, considering the weight of the decision. Admiral Huxley was a political heavyweight, known for his hawkish stance against alien intervention. Alerting him could escalate tensions further, potentially sparking a full-scale conflict. But then again, hiding the truth could prove equally disastrous. No, Kale said finally. For now, keep this contained. Only those who absolutely need to know should be informed. Chun acknowledged the order, her fingers flying over her controls. Meanwhile, the ship shuddered violently as another volley struck home. The hull groaned under the strain, and Kale braced himself for impact. This isn't over, he muttered, his mind racing. Not by a long shot. As the battle raged on, Kale retreated to his private quarters to review the intel Chun had uncovered. The artifact in question, a small metallic orb encased in a lattice of crystalline filaments, had been brought aboard during the ill-fated expedition. Its exact nature remained unclear, but preliminary scans suggested it emitted a form of quantum resonance capable of destabilizing space-time itself. Kale sat at his desk, staring at the holographic projection of the orb. It pulsed softly, as if alive, casting an ethereal glow over the room. He reached out cautiously, his synthetic fingers brushing against its surface. Instantly, visions flooded his mind. Images of sprawling cities swallowed by darkness, of stars winking out like extinguished candles, of entire civilizations reduced to ash. What are you? He whispered, his voice barely audible. The orb emitted a soft hum, as though responding to his query. Symbols materialized in the air around it, swirling like liquid metal. Kale recognized them immediately. They were the same sigils from the monoliths, arranged in a complex pattern that defied conventional logic. I need answers, Kale said firmly. Tell me what you are. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming a single word in a language that resonated deep within his consciousness. Containment. Kale frowned, leaning forward. Containment of what? The orb pulsed brighter, projecting a holographic simulation of the galaxy. Points of light representing known star systems blinked into existence, connected by invisible lines that formed a web. At the center of the web sat a massive black hole, its gravitational pull distorting the fabric of space-time itself. Is that the artifact? Kale asked, pointing at the black hole. The symbols reconfigured themselves, spelling out another word. Anchor. Kale's mind raced. An anchor? For what? And why was it connected to the artifact? He leaned back, rubbing his temples. Whatever this thing was, it clearly held immense power and immense danger. Just then, a notification flashed on his console. The Luminari fleet had ceased their attack, retreating to a safe distance. Kale watched as their vessels formed a perfect circle around the Aurora's Hope Dash, effectively trapping it in place. They're waiting, Kale muttered. For what? The answer came swiftly. A new transmission arrived, this time from a source Kale hadn't anticipated. It was a human voice, distorted but unmistakably familiar. Commander Voss, The voice began, sending a chill down Kale's spine. "You've made a grave mistake." Kale's heart sank as the transmission resolved into a face he thought he'd never see again. It was Dr. Ilara Voss, his estranged sister and former xenologist. Her appearance on the screen sent waves of conflicting emotions coursing through him. Anger, relief, guilt. She had vanished 5 years ago after being accused of collaborating with alien entities during a covert operation. Now here she was, seemingly unscathed, speaking directly to him. "Ilara," Kale managed, his voice tight. "What are you doing with them?" Alara's expression was unreadable, her dark eyes glinting with an intensity that unsettled him. "I'm doing what needs to be done," she replied coldly. "You've let humanity fall too far, Kale. You've allowed greed and ambition to consume us. This artifact, it holds the key to restoring balance." Kale's grip on the console tightened. "Balance? You're working with the Luminari? Against your own people?" Ilara shook her head, her movements fluid despite the distortion. "No, Kale. I'm working for something greater. Something that transcends petty divisions like species and politics. The artifact isn't meant for humanity. It's meant for everyone. For all sentient life." Kale snorted derisively. "And how do you know that? Have you seen it? Touched it?" Alara's gaze hardened. "Yes, I have. And I've seen what happens when it falls into the wrong hands. The Council, they're playing with forces they can't control. They're going to destroy everything." Kale clenched his fists. "So you've joined forces with the enemy? You betrayed us." Alara's expression softened slightly, though her tone remained firm. "I didn't betray anyone, Kale. I saved you. By bringing the artifact here, I ensured it wouldn't be misused. The Luminari will safeguard it, as they were always intended to." Kale stared at her, his mind reeling. His sister, his brilliant, idealistic sister, was standing before him, advocating for a cause he couldn't fully grasp. But there was something else in her words, something darker. A hint of desperation, maybe even madness. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. "Why not just let the Luminari handle it?" Ilara hesitated, her hesitation almost imperceptible. "Because I need you to help me," she said finally. "You're the only one who can stop them from making the same mistakes." Kale laughed bitterly. "Stop them? From what?" "Protecting the galaxy from a weapon that could wipe it out." Alara's expression darkened. "This isn't a weapon, Kale. It's a tool. A tool that can heal or destroy, depending on how it's used." Kale leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. "And who decides how it's used? You? The Luminari? Or do we just leave it to chance?" Ilara opened her mouth to respond, but the connection suddenly broke off, leaving Kale staring at a blank screen. He sat there for several long moments, replaying the conversation in his mind. His sister, his own flesh and blood, was aligned with forces he couldn't comprehend, forces that threatened everything he believed in. But beneath the anger and confusion, a seed of doubt had taken root. Was she right? Was humanity truly incapable of wielding such power responsibly? Or was she merely blinded by her idealism, manipulated by forces beyond her control? Kale exhaled sharply, rising from his chair. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. The stakes had just grown exponentially higher. Kale spent the next several hours reviewing every scrap of information he could find on the artifact, searching for any clue that might explain its true purpose. He pored over schematics, translations, and simulations, trying to piece together the puzzle. But the more he learned, the more questions arose. One thing became clear. The artifact was far more complex than anyone had initially suspected. Its design defied conventional physics, incorporating elements of quantum mechanics, string theory, and even ancient metaphysical principles. The sigils etched into its surface appeared to function as both a user interface and a fail-safe mechanism, ensuring that only those deemed worthy could interact with it. As Kale delved deeper, he began to notice subtle patterns emerging in the data. Certain sequences of symbols seemed to correspond to specific outcomes, some benign, others catastrophic. He hypothesized that the artifact operated on a principle similar to neural networks, learning and adapting based on user intent. But if that were true, then controlling it would require an unprecedented level of precision. Captain, Chen's voice interrupted his reverie. We've received another transmission from the Luminari. Kale straightened, his attention snapping back to the present. Put it through. The screen flickered to life, displaying the same enigmatic figure from earlier. Its presence was unsettling, its gaze piercing through the veil of static. Commander Voss. It began, its voice resonating with an otherworldly clarity. We have reviewed your actions thus far. Your interference has caused irreparable damage. Kale crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Damage? You attacked my ship. The creature tilted its head slightly, as though amused by his indignation. Our actions were necessary to protect the integrity of the artifact. Your species lacks the wisdom to wield such power responsibly. Kale bristled at the condescension. Responsibly? You're threatening us because we haven't handed over something we don't fully understand. The creature's expression shifted, becoming more severe. The artifact is not yours to possess. It belongs to the cosmos, to all sentient life. Your failure to recognize this truth has endangered countless civilizations. Kale clenched his fists. And what do you propose? You take it away and hide it forever. The creature hesitated, its bioluminescent patterns fluctuating. Not forever, but until such time as your kind proves capable of coexistence, it must remain under our supervision. Kale's temper flared. Supervision? You mean imprisonment? The creature's tone softened slightly, though its resolve remained unwavering. Perhaps imprisonment is too strong a word. Consider it quarantine. Kale's jaw tightened. Quarantine? You expect us to accept that? The creature inclined its head, its voice carrying an undertone of finality. Acceptance is not required. Compliance is. Before Kale could respond, the connection severed abruptly, plunging the room into silence. He stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. The Luminari weren't just demanding the artifact, they were demanding surrender. Complete and total submission. Kale spent the next several days strategizing, weighing his options carefully. On one hand, he knew the Luminari were right about one thing. Humanity wasn't ready to handle the artifact's power. On the other hand, giving it up willingly would mean sacrificing Earth's autonomy, and possibly its very survival. He summoned Chun to his quarters, where they spent hours poring over contingency plans. What if we refuse? Kale asked, his voice heavy with doubt. Could we fight them off? Chun shook her head, her expression somber. Their technology is far superior to ours. Even with reinforcements, we'd be lucky to hold them off for 24 hours. Kale exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of his nose. Then we need another way, something that doesn't involve handing over the artifact. Chun hesitated, her fingers hovering over her keyboard. There might be a way to disable it temporarily, using the failsafe mechanisms built into the sigil network. Kale's ears perked up. How temporary? Chin shrugged. Hard to say. Days, maybe weeks. Enough time to evacuate Earth, at least. Kale considered the idea, his mind racing. Evacuating Earth wasn't feasible, not with billions of lives at stake. But disabling the artifact temporarily? That might give them enough breathing room to negotiate. Can you activate it? He asked. Chun nodded slowly. I'll need access to the central hub, and I'll need to physically interface with the artifact itself. Kale frowned. Physically? That's risky. It's the only way, Chun insisted. The failsafe protocols are designed to respond to direct interaction. Without it, we risk triggering unintended consequences. Kale exhaled sharply, weighing the risks. All right, do it. Chun suited up in a specialized exosuit designed to withstand extreme conditions, her movements precise and deliberate as she approached the artifact. The central hub was a cavernous chamber deep within the ship, its walls lined with pulsating energy conduits that seemed to hum with anticipation. At the center of the room stood the artifact, glowing softly in the dim light. Okay, Chun muttered to herself, adjusting her helmet's external sensors. Here goes nothing. She extended her gloved hand, hovering it above the artifact's surface. The moment her fingertips brushed against the metal, a surge of energy coursed through her suit. Symbols erupted around her, swirling like a maelstrom of light and shadow. Chun closed her eyes, focusing on the sequence she had memorized. "Activate failsafe protocol," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The artifact responded immediately, emitting a series of harmonic tones that resonated through the chamber. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming a complex pattern that Chun recognized as a countdown sequence. Seconds ticked by in rapid succession, each passing moment bringing her closer to the threshold. "Come on," she whispered, her knuckles white on the control panel. "Work." The sequence completed, and the artifact fell silent. Chun exhaled sharply, her shoulders sagging with relief. She had done it, she had successfully disabled the artifact. But as she turned to leave, a faint vibration rippled through the floor. Chun froze, her heart pounding. The artifact wasn't completely inert, it was still active, just dormant. And something about the way it pulsed suggested it wasn't finished communicating. Chun hurried back to the bridge, her heart racing. Kale was waiting anxiously, his expression a mixture of relief and concern. "Did it work?" he asked, his voice tight. Chun nodded, her breathing still shallow. "It's down for now, but I think it's still trying to communicate." Kale frowned. "Communicate? With what?" Chun hesitated, glancing at her console. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's not done yet." Before Kale could respond, an alarm blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, casting flickering shadows on every surface. "What now?" Kale demanded, striding toward the command chair. Ensign Rivas appeared on the main monitor, her expression grim. "We've detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the artifact. They're spreading rapidly." Kale clenched his fists. "Spreading? Like a virus?" Rivas nodded. "It's activating something. I can't pinpoint what, but it's growing stronger by the second." Chen's eyes widened. Could it be awakening something? Kale exhaled sharply, his mind racing. "Whatever it is, we need to stop it. Now." The artifact pulsed brighter, its energy signatures growing exponentially. Symbols erupted around it, forming a complex web that spread outward, engulfing the entire ship. Kale watched in horror as the walls of the central hub began to shimmer, as if reality itself was unraveling. "Reverse the process," he shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Do something." Chun frantically typed commands into her console, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "I'm trying, but it's not responding. The failsafe protocols are locked out." Kale swore under his breath, pacing the length of the bridge. "Think, damn it, there has to be a way." Suddenly, a new signal burst through the chaos. This time it was different, calmer, more melodic. It carried a message written in symbols that Chun recognized instantly. "It's the artifact," she exclaimed, pointing at the screen. "It's trying to communicate." Kale leaned closer, studying the glyphs. They were beautiful, intricate, almost poetic. But they told a story, one of creation, destruction, and renewal. "Translate it," he urged. Chun worked furiously, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's saying, it's not a weapon. It's a seed of potential, a spark of life." Kale frowned. "A seed? What does that mean?" Chun hesitated, her voice trembling. "It means it's alive. Somehow, it's evolving." Kale exhaled sharply, his mind reeling. "Evolving? Into what?" Chun shrugged helplessly. "I don't know. But whatever it becomes, it won't be controllable." The artifact continued to pulse, its energy signatures growing stronger with each passing moment. Symbols erupted around it, forming a complex web that seemed to resonate with the very essence of existence. Kale watched in awe and dread as the ship began to transform, its metallic surfaces melting and reforming into something organic, something alive. "What's happening?" Chun whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the artifact. Kale exhaled sharply, his mind racing. It's adapting. It's evolving. Chen's eyes widened. Adapting? To what? Kale hesitated, his gaze fixed on the artifact. To us. To humanity. The artifact's transformation was complete. Where once there had been a metallic orb encased in crystalline filaments, now stood a towering monolith, its surface shimmering with iridescent hues. Symbols danced across its surface, forming intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid light. Is it sentient? Chen asked, her voice trembling. Kale shook his head, his expression unreadable. I don't know, but it's definitely aware. The artifact's presence was palpable, its energy resonating through every fiber of the ship. Kale stood before it, his mind racing. He had never encountered anything like it, something that defied classification, something that seemed to exist outside the bounds of human understanding. Who are you? He asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. The artifact responded immediately, projecting a holographic simulation of the galaxy. Points of light representing known star systems blinked into existence, connected by invisible lines that formed a web. At the center of the web sat a massive black hole, its gravitational pull distorting the fabric of space-time itself. You are the key, the artifact intoned, its voice resonating with an otherworldly clarity. You are the balance. Kale frowned. Balance? Between what? The artifact hesitated, its symbols rearranging themselves. Between creation and destruction. Between life and death. Kale exhaled sharply, his mind reeling. And what do you want from me? The artifact pulsed brighter, projecting a vision of Earth. Cities sprawled across its surface, their crystalline spires reflecting sunlight like shards of shattered rainbows. But beneath the beauty lay a darker truth. Corruption, greed, destruction. Change, the artifact said simply. Change begins with you. Kale stood before the artifact, his mind racing. He had always seen himself as a protector, a defender of humanity. But now, faced with the artifact's wisdom, he realized he had been wrong. Humanity wasn't ready, not yet. It needed guidance, direction, balance. I'll do it, he said finally, his voice steady. I'll help you. The artifact pulsed brighter, projecting a vision of a new future. Cities floated in geosynchronous orbits, their crystalline spires reflecting sunlight like shards of shattered rainbows. Below them, the surface of Earth had become a vast parkland, preserved from centuries of industrial abuse. People lived in harmony, their lives enriched by the artifact's influence. Thank you, the artifact said, its voice filled with gratitude. Together, we can create a better world. The artifact's transformation was complete. Where once there had been a metallic orb encased in crystalline filaments, now stood a towering monolith, its surface shimmering with iridescent hues. Symbols danced across its surface, forming intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid light. Kale stood before it, his heart filled with hope. Humanity had been given a second chance, a gift of unimaginable power. And with it came responsibility to use that power wisely, to guide, to protect, to create. Together, he whispered, his voice filled with conviction, we can change the universe. And with that, the artifact pulsed brighter, its energy spreading outward, touching every corner of the galaxy. A new age had begun. Subscribe now to continue exploring the infinite possibilities of the universe.